everyone, we want to share with you a little bit about foam rolling. We see lots of people with foam rollers, but they may not know exactly what to do. So Julieta, will you start us out just giving us some idea about what these things are?
Yeah, so there are many different types of foam rollers, and they are a tool. They're not the only tool, but they can be effective as a form of mobilization of tissue or deep tissue massage. So there are short ones, there are rigid or ribbed ones. Some are more dense than others. They're longer versions. And so some people are not sure what to get. There's also vibrating foam rollers, which are very expensive. But some people like that version of the foam roller because it feels like they get more increased amount of blood flow through the vibration.
What would you recommend that people get just if they don't have one already?
Good question. I would get something that is a little less dense. So there are, on many different websites, you can find a soft foam roller. So the foam roller actually condenses or collapses in a little bit, and so it's not as intense as you get started. So this is a little bit more intense because it does have ridges and it's going to get a little deeper in the tissue, but if you're not careful, this can actually bruise you or create damage. These black ones here are probably the most dense in terms of foam, and that's what we're going to use today. So we're going to use the longer one for most of what we do, and we're going to take you through different parts of your body and how to effectively use this, and some of the don'ts and things you want to stay away from. So we're going to get started with some upper body, and we're going to talk about the lats. Okay, so that's the big muscle group that sits under your arm and wraps around your back. Okay, those things right there. All right, so we're going to turn that foam roller perpendicular to our body, and she's going to lay her arm over top. Okay, and she's going to make sure that it's just below that armpit because there's a lot of arteries and nerves that run through there. Okay, so we don't want to be directly under the armpit, just below it and in the meaty muscle tissue. Okay, so we're going to take that opposite hand or the up arm, make a fist, and place it between our shoulder and chin. Okay, with the side of our face. Now, keeping this arm overhead, nice and straight, what she's going to do is she's not going to roll up and down. She's going to go forward and back towards me, and she's going to feel some things.
Should you pause if it feels tender?
If it feels sort of tense in one area, I recommend holding that position for about 10 seconds and then releasing as you go to different areas of the lat. So you don't want to stay in one area for too long. And I would say a minute total for each body part. So in here, she's probably feeling that muscle starting to release. So then what she would do is come up and just move and slide the foam roller maybe a little lower. And she might feel a different area of her body where she rolls using the weight of her torso to provide that downward pressure into the roller, back and forth. And so having tight lats could cause shoulder pain, could cause neck pain. So just something to be aware of, especially if you've been at a desk for 8 hours. And then you would obviously do the other side, okay? So we're gonna keep in that upper back region. We're gonna move along to the thoracic spine or mid-spine. So one of the ones that feels best to me is laying my upper back kind of shoulder blade level along the foam roller, okay? And then we're gonna put our hands behind our head and bring the elbows in so that we can access more of those muscles that sit between the shoulder blade. Then what she's going to do is bridge her hips up, keeping her abdominals braced, and then she's going to roll up and down from the tops of her shoulders down towards just above the bottom of the rib cage. She's going to keep going. She feels, woo. You might even get a couple adjustments through your spine. And if you're a person that has a bit more of a kyphotic spine, meaning it's a little bit more rounded, this may feel pretty uncomfortable. So that's why using the softer roller may be a little bit more effective at first. Good, keep those elbows pulled in. Again, just for about a minute. If you find one of those tight or tender spots, go ahead and rest there hold, breathe through it for about 10 seconds, and then continue on rolling up and down. Excellent. Okay, so we're gonna stay here, okay? So now we're gonna work a little bit of the mobility that I talked about earlier. And we're gonna bend our knees, feet flat, and we're gonna work into thoracic extension, meaning we're gonna fold ourselves over that foam roller, okay? Now, we don't want our low back to get involved. So she's gonna come back. She's going to tuck her pelvis in by pulling her belly button in towards the ground. And then she's gonna hold that tension in her lower abdominals and then reach over, which is a little different feel. You can open your elbows up away from your body and get a little bit more of your chest stretch as well. Hold 5 to 10 seconds and then come on back, crunching up, using your abdominals to pull you back, not your neck. And then again, right back into that thoracic extension. You're really trying to get as far as you can without using your lumbar spine or arching the spine from the lumbar area. And then you would move that roller a little bit lower towards the bottom of your shoulder blades and try to get more motion in that position. Again, opening and trying to fold our shoulders back behind around that foam roller. And you may feel like you don't actually move, and that's okay. I think that's telling you something diagnostically that maybe you're a little stiff through that region. And this is gonna help overall with your posture. Good, and relax. Awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna work down into the lower half of our body, and we're gonna go to the glutes. We're actually gonna sit on this.
Oh, should be fun.
So after a run, after a basketball game, any sort of running or lower body activity that you're doing, your glutes are probably going to be kind of tight. So what you're going to do is move into a figure 4 position. So hands are behind you, and you're going to bend one knee and place the ankle over the other knee. Okay. Yep. And using your foot as a stable piece to hold your body in that position. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to rotate our body towards the side of the bent knee. So she's going to rotate towards me, and she's going to get into the meat of that glute. And she's going to roll up and down, and she might feel some tension, maybe.
I feel some tension, yeah.
And
should I pause?
And you should pause once you feel that tension.
Okay.
Now, here's the don't, okay? If you feel as though something starts to get numb or tingling, that tells you you're on the wrong part of your glute. That tells you that maybe you're compressing your nerve. And so it's very important to get off of that spot as soon as possible, readjust, and try to get into the meat of that tissue in that glute. And again, just rolling gently up and down is going to provide you with enough compression to be able to work out that glute. Good, and release. Excellent, awesome. So that's the glutes. And of course you're going to do this both sides, okay? Now we're going to work to the thighs. So you're actually going to lay on top of this with your quads or thighs over top. Okay, now I would go down to the forearms and keep your abs active during this so that you don't go into your back. Okay, we don't want to just rest there. Double legs to start, and she's going to roll up and down. Here's the other don't as you continue rolling. You never want to roll over bone, nerve, or joint space. So she's going to roll up and down until she gets to just above her kneecap, but she's not going to go over the kneecap. I think that goes without saying, but I want to say it just in case. Okay, now you may feel, oh, this feels really good to kind of roll back and forth, up and down. And you can go all the way up towards the hip. You just don't want to roll over, your hip bone or your pelvic bone because it just doesn't feel good, right? But most of the time I find that it's not middle of the quad that's tight, it's more of the outer quad that gets a little bit more tense. So I would rotate your body ever so slightly to one side. Yep, and so you can see, but not all the way over, right? Just rotate enough to where you feel outer glute, but not quite onto the IT band. Yes, how does that feel?
Intense.
It's a little bit more intense, right? So again, if you're new to foam rolling and people tell you, oh, you need a roll out your IT bands. It actually can have a rebound effect, meaning you either will become sore, bruised, or even more tense. And so it's kind of countering what you're doing. So I tell people to just rotate slightly, get the outer thigh muscle or outer quad, and you're, again, if you're feeling those tense spots, you know, take a break, get back to it.
Take a break.
And then she's like, yes, I'm gonna take that break. And then do the other side as well, right? So again, you're not rolling over bone, joint space, or nerve. If it feels tingly, stop.
Is it okay to do these every day?
You know, that's a good question. I would say once you work up to it, just like anything else, right? When you wear orthotics, you don't wear them for 8 hours first thing out of the box, right? You have to work up to it. So I would try this a couple times a week. See how it feels, see how your body responds, and then you can slowly start to integrate it as part of your routine. And post-workout is where you would probably feel the most effective benefits from the foam roller, okay? So just because we did quads, we're now gonna do hamstrings. We're gonna do the other side, okay? So you're gonna sit behind it, and this is where it takes a little bit of upper body strength, okay? So you're going to lift your butt up off the ground, straighten your legs, and roll back and forth. You may have to walk your hands, yep, to get all the way up towards the top of your hamstring. And sometimes you don't really feel it all that much. So I would come back down and then cross one leg over the other, and then start to roll. And just like the, you feel a little bit more? Just like the quads, you can rock to the side and feel a little different of the fibers or that lateral hamstring, even down towards the knee. So if you're a person who has very tight hamstrings, or you feel some tension mostly behind the knee towards the tendons as they come down, then rotating outside is going to give you a little bit more bang for your buck there. Good. Ooh. Again, if you feel numbness and tingling, move away from that and relax. Okay, so we did some outer work. Let's do some inner work. So we're going to get into the adductors, and this is where it looks kind of awkward, but it's highly effective. So you're going to lay on your belly. Let's pull the foam roller out from you, and I'm going to help you place it. Okay, so she's going to lay on her belly. She's going to bring this knee up towards her side. So just bring it up towards your side. The leg is going to be down. Relax, relax. Just like this, okay? So she's kind of almost in a frog position. And then I'm gonna take this foam roller. Actually, let's do the other side so people can see. Good, and then we're gonna place this foam roller underneath her thigh. Perfect, like that, okay? And then she's gonna drop her belly down, and she's gonna try to roll back and forth.
Ooh, I already feel that.
Already feel that. So now we're getting into that groin and adductor area. So again, this is an area that you want to be careful of because a lot of blood flow through here, arteries and such. Now, if you want a bigger sort of release, let's say, go ahead and extend your knee or straighten your leg as you do that. So a longer lever is going to give you a little bit more intense of a feel. Ooh. Okay, and then if that doesn't feel quite right, go ahead and bend your knee and stay in that position. Okay, so again, working on that inner thigh, groin area, adductors, and even into the medial hamstring is going to be very effective if you know that you're a person that has a tendency to feel tension. And you can add this, you know, as part of your cool down, your stretch routine that you do post-exercise. Perfect, you all right?
I'm good.
Okay, great. So now we're going to move along to the calves. We're working our way down. And again, we're going to sit in front of that foam roller and place our calves on top. Now everybody thinks you need to lift yourself up and roll those calves back and forth. However, I find it to be more effective when you place one leg over the other and you just move back and forth, bending your knee, and you can feel some of those tight spots.
Ooh,
yeah, even down into the Achilles and soleus. So not just for the upper calf, but definitely for the lower part of your leg as well. And you can roll side to side, kind of back and forth. That way, if you don't have the upper body strength to lift yourself up, you can still make this very effective just by adding a little pressure from that top leg. And again, Don't roll over the ankle. And behind the knee, lots of very important structures live there, so don't roll directly behind the knee as well. Stay in the meat or the muscle, okay? And you would do both sides. There you go. Good?
Good.
All right.
That's great.
So we're gonna take our little roller now, AKA a lacrosse ball, and we're gonna work on our feet. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can do it seated, where you place the foot on top of the ball. And for those who are prone to foot cramps, plantar fascia, you've had that in the past, any sort of runner, jumper, tennis, anybody who does a lot of movement with their feet, this would be a good way to kind of open up those tense spots. So you're just gonna roll back and forth, and you might find that you feel more tense on the inside, right through the arch. Or you may find that, wow, all my tension because I walk on the outsides of my feet are on the outside, okay? And you wanna make sure that you're not pushing down so hard that you make it sore, but that you feel as if those muscles are letting go and just getting a nice massage. So this is a very sensitive area, so I wouldn't recommend standing if this is your first time or one of your first times doing this, but eventually you could add more and more pressure as your foot gets used to the density of the ball that you're using. So we use a lacrosse ball, there are yoga balls out there are plenty of balls, but something that has a little bit of density to it. A tennis ball would work if you're new, but over time that's gonna feel too easy. Okay? So that's foam rolling in a nutshell. Give it a go, see what you think. Again, these are between $10 and $15 respectively, and then you can make them as expensive as you want, but try that and get started.